Okay, we're back at the gym this week, which is awesome. I guess I was there last week too, but today I'm kind of proud of myself. I did not feel like going. I always feel like going, but I was really tired. Ended up getting a personal record on my deadlifts. I don't know if that, I mean, some people don't care, but that's a big deal to me. I've never lifted much as a kid. I was always that skinny kid, not much muscle and whatnot. So, and we always do some, what I end up shooting at the gym is usually just like the lifting period because it's easier. I'm checking my form first off. I go back and I watch it and see how my form is when I do actually these moves. Secondly, it's the easiest thing to shoot. Otherwise, we're doing a bunch of cardio moves, which I don't want to stop and mess with the tripod and then come back and whatever, where it's easier to kind of do the weightlifting. So anyway, a lot of cardio today and a lot of weights, so feeling pretty good besides right about now when in the middle of that session and my energy just goes because I sit in front of a computer too long. All right, on to the video. Go. All right, so I literally could not keep my eyes open much longer. Today's a post day, and I think I'm crooked. Am I crooked? Someone asked me a question. Let me take these off. Okay, so the whole point of the accent in the beginning was I lived a couple years in England. For anyone out there, mostly northern England. A lot of time in Newcastle. I love Newcastle. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Okay, someone asked me the other day, why don't I use Final Cut Pro? Now, that's a good question for a post day because we're doing a lot of posts. And this used to be, the quick answer was because it sucked. And but it's not quite that simple anymore. Back in the day, I was a Premiere 4.7 user years ago. I'm talking the 90s. And then I switched over to Final Cut 1 when it came out. I think that was like 98 maybe. I can't remember the exact year. We used that for a long time until Premiere, or sorry, because actually Premiere cut off the Mac. Adobe Adobe did not support it. They stopped supporting it on the Mac for a few years in between there. I'm trying to remember when they came back. I think it was 2013 or something like that. Anyway, so Final Cut did its whole huge thing for many years, and it was really good. It was growing. There was a whole suite of tools involved with it that we all grow to get used to. Used all the way up until Final Cut 7. And when 10 came out, or X, whoever they're calling it these days, we were all very excited for the concept. All the sneak peek and everything looked really cool. It looked like they were gonna kind of take it and do some good creative things with it, push the technology, etc. But in application, the first application of it, I don't know what they were thinking as far as like the marketing goes. They had like professional movie editors using it, they said, which I don't believe at all, because when that first version of 10 came out, you could not do anything that was longer than a couple minutes worth without totally screwing yourself up. And it was very iMovie heavy, where it was making you manage all of your media their way, and they still kind of do that, which is very frustrating. But to be perfectly honest, I haven't used Final Cut 10. I haven't tried to use it seriously for a couple of versions, and it's just really because when it comes down to it, I have developed a really good workflow in the Adobe suite, and because it helps that I've switched over to Windows for my main workstation, and we'll talk to that's a whole different video. But along the same lines, the reason why I don't use Final Cut 10 right now, or I haven't necessarily jumped back into trying to suss it out, is the same reason I don't use something like DaVinci Resolve, where I know I never thought DaVinci Resolve sucked. I always thought it was really good, and it was, what they've been doing with it is pretty amazing, especially at the price point. I think they're doing a lot of good things if they're, it's like, what do I call it? It's Blackmagic Resolve. It's DaVinci Resolve. Yeah, Blackmagic's DaVinci Resolve. Having the free version so people can get into it and learn it, I think is amazing. Its structure is still very much more traditional NLE compared to Final Cut, where they have like their magnetic timeline and all the other jazz like that, which for me personally, having been editing for so many years, jumping into that framework was more counterintuitive than intuitive because of the way I know I could cut fast and the way other people, a lot of these projects I have to then take and hand off to dub houses and TV stations and other editors and stuff, because we'll do these products, we'll make these properties, we'll then take and deliver them to basically sell them off, and then other people will take and use them on the way they're going to in different markets and whatnot. So also, I'm a very heavy After Effects user, and the way Premiere has incorporated After Effects their connected timelines or connected compositions. Having said that, Premiere's done some pretty cool stuff lately when it comes to really basic graphics. I haven't had to jump into After Effects as often. I'm trying to think any other reasons why I have not been so eager to jump back to Final Cut. I'm a little bit disenchanted with Apple lately and the last couple years, and how they've taken and just totally cut off their support for pro people. The Pro Macs are still only lip service. They keep teasing they're going to come out with a new Pro Mac. Graphics, GPUs are so important these days, and when you're stuck with just what you can be offered with the factory settings, or just what's in your laptop, my PC laptop, I could go and upgrade the graphics card right now if I wanted to, whereas my MacBook Pro, I'm stuck with what it is, and that's it. Anyway, there's a lot of reasons why that I could get into more detail, but this isn't a video for that. I don't want to be that long and that winded. I just know that for my particular workflow and the way I work things, I know that the Adobe Suite is going to take care of me in the long run, because I'm going to be able to, at least in the foreseeable future, rely on the tool set staying the way it should. Now, having said that, the latest release last week, CC18, I was kind of disappointed. They made a big deal about being at CC18, but all the updates were they kind of felt like under the hood, like should happen anyway. There weren't a lot of really big feature bumps that I would have wanted. One of them being a bigger titler, or the graphics panel, Essentials graphics panel, having a better kind of treatment like the old titler did. When you look at Final Cut X, at least before, there was a huge gap between Final Cut X. I always told people to use that, especially at the price point, if you want to do some kind of like YouTube video or self-contained stuff, small videos that could start to finish, that was done really well. They had some good audio tools. It had really good color tools built in before there was the Lumetri panel in Premiere, and the price point again is way different. And the other thing too is, like, I think personally, if you're talking about, this is changing subjects a little bit, because I have a lot of interns that come through that I work with, and I always tell them, you know what, yeah, if you have Final Cut, great. If your school used it, great. That's a good thing to learn, but make sure you're learning still your Premieres, your Avids, your DaVinci Resolves nowadays, because still the bigger production houses, studios are going to be relying on you to know that more than just Final Cut. I know there are some TV stations and stuff that do jump on Final Cut. It's not as established. Even Grass Valley's Edius is still, it's a more traditional NLE. That's something that someone's going to expect you to know more than Final Cut, and the thinking is different enough between those applications. I've had some Final Cut editors come in and don't know how to do anything Premiere because that's what they were taught in school, whereas nowadays you need to make sure you are familiar with kind of both mindsets. I don't know, you all maybe think I'm crazy, you may think you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm this old guy, which I am now, but anyway, okay, that was my nice break. I'm not falling asleep anymore. I'm gonna get back and finish this video because we got a lot of shooting to do next week. Super.